guys, we have amazing technology. Grocery stores full of food, and seats that heat up your butt in the winter. Hey!
Depression has nothing to do with material possessions and everything to do with your brain chemistry. You know how people say money can't buy happiness? It's because it's true. Cars with seat warmers in grocery stores don't equal being happy. I'm at least 12 years younger than you, and even I know that. Just goes to show that being older doesn't mean being smarter.
Or if you're a genius like me, you turn on the heat seat and keep your fast food warm.
Speaking of fast food, did you know fast food can actually make you feel more depressed? According to Time magazine, eating a lot of sugar can make you develop illnesses that are linked to the development of depression. Not feeling depressed, but actually being clinically depressed. Also, remember when I talked about orexin levels in my fat acceptance video? That too can make you depressed. Anyway, moving on.
Depression is a chemical imbalance in your head. You can't just fix it, but you can. First, our brains are made of chemicals that are always changing balances. Sometimes when you have more of one chemical than another, then you can have depression symptoms. However, our brains are always changing, and we can change our brain. Yeah.
So, if depression is all in your head because the chemicals in your brain are always changing, then that means that so is dementia. Depression is caused by a reduction of certain neurotransmitters in the brain, and so is Alzheimer's, the most common form of dementia. So next time you go visit your grandma in the nursing home, make sure to tell her that it's all in her head and that you know she's just doing it for attention.
I'm holding you accountable for your own feelings. Doctors are taught to prescribe antidepressants the same way they're told to prescribe Ritalin to kids with ADD. We all know what I think about that.
If you took Nicole seriously before, the fact that she doesn't think ADD is real just proves that she's a fucking moron and completely unqualified to be speaking on this subject. I'm not a psychologist or anything, but at least I can use Google. Just like how depression isn't just being sad, ADD is not just being energetic. Yes, being depressed means that you are going to feel sad, and having ADD means that you are going to be energetic. But it's a problem because of the severity of what you're feeling. You don't just feel sad when you have depression. You feel empty. And don't enjoy anything. And this goes on for long periods of time. For some people, it goes on for years. It's not just something that happens for a couple of hours and then it goes away. And it's the same with ADD. Kids with ADD aren't just energetic. They have too much energy and can't pay attention to anything, which can lead to bad grades in school and a loss of motivation. It affects a child's social skills, memory, themselves doing things they shouldn't do, and in general can lower a child's self-esteem and self-worth because they aren't like the other kids, and that's not fun.
Antidepressants are not lifelong tools. They will never make you happy.
Antidepressants are not happy. They're meant to make you feel normal. Being happy all the time is not only practically impossible, it's not normal either.
This video has been brought to you by Mix at NordVPN.com plan. With all of the videos I've made about driving and my complaints about other people's ability behind the wheel, you'd assume I'm a pretty good driver with no record. Wrong. I am a filthy hypocrite. Last year, I got a ticket for speeding in a school zone, which, if you didn't know, is an automatic fail on your driving test. Actually, looking back, I technically wasn't in the school zone yet, and I was just trying to keep up with traffic. But I'll own up to my ignorance and admit that I didn't realize I was actually going that fast. You can tell that specific area is a hot spot for speeders because there's a nice little nest for them Dodge Chargers to perch on. I sped past an incognito cop, saw the flashing lights in my mirror, and after some initial delusion that it wasn't for me, no, it can't possibly be, oh wait, it is, I pulled over. Now, I got my driver's license when I was 21. Might seem a little late to some of you because you probably started driving right when you hit puberty. I know, you don't need to tell me. You're probably 5'11" at the age of 13 and you'll need to remind me that I'm short. I know, you don't need to tell me. But you know that I was a university student who commuted every day to school in a city where it's a nightmare to drive. So the only times I could drive was during my free time on the weekends, which was usually non-existent. It wasn't worth paying insurance to an inactive driver. But I eventually got a part-time job and decided on getting my G2 soon after my 21st birthday. And for the next 6 years, until last year, I was never in an accident nor ticketed for vehicular misconduct. Then I went 80 in the school zone, which is an unacceptable amount past the 40km/h limit. As competent of a driver as I believe to be, I probably deserved that ticket. The cop gave me the whole, "Do you know how fast you were going?" spiel, and I was nothing but cooperative in the conversation. Officer, I was going so fast that you're not even speaking to me. This is just my after image. He asked for my license, insurance policy, and proof of ownership. Cool. Here's my license and my insurance policy. And let me just get my other document from the empty glove compartment. Why are my documents not here? Oh yeah, that's right. I recently got my car detailed and took everything out and forgot to put it back in. Sir, are you aware that your policy expired a month ago? No. Please remain in your car. The police officer went back inside his car for a few minutes. I assume he went to check my records. And then he returned to my car. He saw that my record was clean and decided to cut me some slack. I understand this is your first offense, but I'm still gonna have to ticket you for speeding. But I'll only mark you for going over, right? I can waive your other charges if you can provide those documents in court. You'll be contacted for an appointed date. Thank you, officer. I really appreciate it. Alright, you have a good day, sir. Whew. Okay. I maintained a 10km/h speed below the limit for the next few weeks. The next day, I immediately went to go pay the speeding ticket, and then I got my documents together for the court hearing that was scheduled 4 months later. And so I waited for the date to arrive. As it approached, I remember working on a video deadline and staying up late one night. The court hearing was the next day at 10 a.m., and I remember contemplating whether to just stay awake for a few more hours until then. I spent too long thinking about it that I was already on that path. But somehow, I didn't make it for 10 a.m. I didn't make it to 11. In fact, I didn't even wake up at noon. I somehow fell asleep and woke up at 4 p.m. Holy shit. I jumped up from my bed so violently that I ended up on the roof of my condo building. I didn't know what to do. I looked up the number for the courthouse and called. Voicemail said they were closed. I checked their hours to call the next day. They were closed on weekends. Oh my girth. I remember reading in the letter or somewhere that if you are absent without informing the court prior to the date, the judge can issue a warrant for your arrest. And I know it was just a speeding ticket with failure to provide some documents, but I panicked. I called 911. Hello, what is your emergency? Hi, this isn't an emergency. I just wasn't sure what number to call. Someone probably got murdered because I occupied the line. I explained my situation, and although I could feel how much of an idiot she thought I was, she was helpful and explained my options, which were nothing. I simply had to wait for Monday to call the court again. And when I did, I was informed that not only was I absent, but so was the officer that ticketed me. And I believed my charges would have been waived if I was just there, but because we both weren't, they rescheduled the hearing. And you bet your gas hole I didn't sleep in that time. They usually group a couple hearings together because many are short and get resolved quickly. The person in line in front of me turned around and did a double take. Are you Domix? What an inconvenient place for a fan to recognize me. I could probably just lie. Yeah, that's me. I'm just here for a speeding ticket. How about you? I ran a red light and killed a family. I'm just kidding, but I remember it being more serious than a speeding ticket. Anyway, the police officer that ticketed me came into the room and approached me. He seemed almost hospitable with what he told me to do and say once my name was called up, and assured me that I'd be okay. I mean, I knew my offense wasn't that serious, but he kinda seemed like a bro for making sure things went smoothly. I don't know, maybe it was just me. Mr. Punjabab? That sounds awfully close to a butchering of my last name. I sure hope someone in here is actually named Punjabab. I guess that's a no? Nobody here? Okay, yeah, that's me! Man, I'm really glad that cop cut me some slack. But you know who wouldn't be as nice? Frickin' hackers. If you guys want peace of mind while you're on the web, check out our sponsor for today, NordVPN, by using the code DOMIX at NordVPN.
I am Hercules Mulligan, up in it, loving it. Yes, I heard your mother said, come again. Lock up your daughters and horses. Of course, it's hard to have intercourse over 4 sets of corsets. Yo, I'm a tailor's apprentice, and I got y'all knuckleheads and local parentis. I'm joining the rebellion, cause I know it's my chance to socially advance. Instead of sewing some pants, I'm gonna take a shot. Hercules Mulligan! Tell a spine on the British government. I take the measurements, information, and then I smuggle it to my brother's revolutionary covenant. I'm running with the Sons of Liberty, and I am loving it. See, that's what happens when you up against the ruffians. We in this shit now, somebody's gotta shovel it. Hercules Mulligan, I need no introduction. When you knock me down, I get the fuck back up again.
Hi everyone, this is Wolfie Chew, and I've been thinking lately about the job interviews I've had in the past, and I remember just how terrible I am at them. Even though I'd always try to look confident, I was never very good at hiding how nervous I felt. I've been to a lot of different places looking for jobs in the past, but a lot of the times where I went to interviews, I'd have the same problem. I felt like a lot of people didn't really take me seriously, I guess because I didn't look or sound my age. There were a few bad job interviews in particular that I remember having that I wanted to talk about. I remember the first job interview I had after moving to Australia. It was in this little nearby cafe. I was looking for any kind of work back then, and I thought that working in the cafe sounded like something that I could do. It didn't sound like a hard job. I thought it could be nice to work somewhere like that. On the day of the interview, even though I walked into the cafe feeling pretty nervous, I tried to convince myself that it was going to be fine, I could do this job, and all that they were going to do was ask me a few simple questions. But I couldn't get thoughts out of my head like, what if I was going to be taken into somewhere like an interrogation room where they would shine a light in my face while demanding answers to their questions? That thought made me even more nervous. But then the guy appeared and he called me over to a table in the cafe to just sit casually with him, so that turned out nothing like what I feared. So the interview starts off fine. The guy was just making a little bit of small talk, and I felt like I could relax a little because he seemed friendly enough. I noticed that he seemed to have a permanent smile on his face. I guess he was just a really happy person. But then all of a sudden his face changes from the usual smile to completely serious, and he asks me, "Tell me the name of every type of coffee you know." I don't even drink coffee, so my mind went blank and I could only think of like 2 different names of coffee. I realized then that I was applying for a job at a cafe and I had no idea about anything to do with coffee or how to make it. The guy did not look impressed. He really didn't seem so happy like before. Maybe he was actually really passionate about coffee, so having someone like me trying to come work at his cafe was almost an insult. I thought that I blew the interview for sure. But then, out of the blue, he asked me if I like anime. I was so surprised, and I felt this little glimmer of hope, thinking that maybe we'd somehow connected. But then he turned his laptop around and I felt my stomach sink as he showed me the email I wrote to him, and I saw that my avatar was the picture of an anime girl. I'd completely forgotten that I still had that picture. I was really embarrassed. I didn't even know what to say. I kinda just awkwardly waited for him to change the subject. Needless to say, I didn't get that job. Another job interview I had was in a second-hand store where they sold things like video games, DVDs, and CDs. I thought that this could be a good job because the last job I had before this was in a supermarket, and this place was a lot less busy, so it seemed like working here would probably feel pretty easy. I just had a long day of looking around for jobs, and I went into the store feeling hopeful. The manager in there told me that they were looking for people to hire, and he started to interview me right away. It was all normal at first, but then, right when I thought the interview was over, he says that he has one very important question to ask me. He said, "If an alien was about to attack you right now, what kind of pose would you take?" This question caught me completely off guard since he seemed so professional before, but he looked completely serious. I awkwardly did this little pose because I didn't know what else to do. The guy just nods and says, "Defensive cactus." Nice. And he writes it down on my resume. I don't know if he did that to kind of lighten up the mood since it was probably really obvious that I was nervous, but I just found it really weird, especially since it was the last question he asked me before finishing up the interview. Maybe he really did have aliens chasing after him and he needed some advice. I hope it helped. Then there was this other interview I had at a restaurant. I thought that this place would be great because it was so close to where I live I could easily just walk to work each day. So I went there, but I found that the door was locked even though they were supposed to be open at that time. I decided to check around the back just in case, and I found the manager carrying some boxes in. When I told him why I was there, he asked me to go around the front and he'd open the door. So I ran back around the front and got inside, but I don't know what it was about the restaurant, but I instantly felt really weird being in there. It was dead quiet. There were all of these empty tables and chairs. Nobody was there. It made me feel really uneasy, like I wasn't supposed to be there. I know it sounds stupid, but I started to feel kind of scared. It felt like when you walk into a random creepy area of a video game, like the Strange House in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. Suddenly the manager popped out from behind the counter, which made me jump, and I felt like I couldn't just leave, so I walked over to him. It was strange though. He seemed really chatty at first, but now he was being really quiet and had the most blank look on his face. It was like he was a different person now. I kind of felt like he didn't want in there. He started asking me a couple questions, but I was feeling more and more uncomfortable by the weird vibes I was getting. The man's face was still really blank. He just stood there staring at me dead in the eyes. I was actually purposely answering questions kind of bad because for the first time, I really did not want my interview to go well. I did not want to work there. He was asking me things like, would you be able to do tasks like washing the dishes and cleaning around the restaurant? And I'd be like, maybe sometimes? Luckily, I wasn't in there too long. I left that place as quickly as I could without running. I was worried that I was going to get a call back from them because the manager would, but he never did, so that was good. And those were some of the worst and weirdest job interviews I've had. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see my works in progress and get your special badge to your next comment, then I hope you'll consider becoming a member of my channel. The join button is right next to the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Bye!